Hi, I'm Kristen, and this is Reading Unrestricted. Oops, sorry, I'm like crazy with the phone here. Um, so I haven't made a video in a really long time. I kind of took the summer off. I did read a lot, but I just didn't get around to making any videos. So I'm trying to get back in the swing. Recently I wanted to read some scary books for Halloween, and I just finished one just after Halloween. It's called We Used to Live Here by Marcus, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, Kleiwer, something like that. In any case, it was a good book. It was, I don't know, it left me confused. And so to be honest with you, the ending, I'm not sure how I feel about the ending. It did not wrap things up. It left you with lots of questions. But that's part of what's appealing about the book, because there's just so much to unpack after the fact. You just kind of like, what is going on here? And that's sort of the tone of the whole book. It's a haunted house. Actually, that's the question. Is it a haunted house? Is the person, the main character, going crazy? Is it some kind of science fiction portal, weird stuff going on? Like, you just don't know. It's set in the Pacific Northwest, in sort of a rural town, and it's an old Victorian house, and this couple moves in, Eve and Charlie, and they move into the house, and they're going to flip it. And they're coming off of having flipped some other houses, and money's not so great, so they're kind of under the gun to get this house in shape and flip it for a profit. And they need to do this. So it starts with Eva's home alone, and Charlie is, I don't know where Charlie's in town somewhere. I don't know where she is, but she's not home, and Eve was waiting for her. They're planning an evening together, and there's a knock on the door. And it's this family, mom, dad, 2 boys and a girl. And they say, the dad, his name is Thomas, and Thomas says, I was wondering if we could come in. I used to live here. I grew up here. And it's kind of, I don't know that it's a stormy night yet, but it's like a cold, wintry night. And Eve is a very anxious person, and she doesn't particularly want to let them in, but she's also a people pleaser, and so she's having a really hard time saying no. And then she notices there's no car, which she thinks is weird. And so she's like, well, why don't you have a car? Where's your car? And they said, oh, the road was too icy. We left it down the hill. We walked up here. Which was odd, but, she kind of rolled with it. She was more concerned about how she's going to say no to these people she doesn't want in her house, that she doesn't want to say no to because she doesn't want to disappoint them. And so she says, oh, I have to call my girlfriend and, see what she thinks. We had a night plan. So she goes and she calls Charlie, and she can't get her. She gets her voicemail, comes back and doesn't know what to do. So she says, oh, Charlie said no. She doesn't want you here. And so they're all dejected, and they start walking off, and the daughter's all disappointed. And finally, Eve feels so guilty. She says, okay, come on in, 15 minutes. You can look around. So they start looking around, and ultimately they end up staying much longer than 15 minutes. Various things happen that prevent them from leaving, and Eve is very uncomfortable. And then Charlie comes home, and Charlie's a little bit more hospitable to them. She's kind of, I don't think she wants them there, but she's kind of maybe trying to teach Eve a lesson to say no to people, so she doesn't kick them out. And they really couldn't, because the storm comes in, so they can't kick them out. And, I don't want to go into all the details and spoil the book, but it's just strange events unfold from there. And you don't know if Eve is losing her mind, if her anxiety is overcoming her, and she doesn't, she's out of touch with reality. You don't know if the house is haunted. It's much more than just the house. There are a lot of really strange things. There are things that, change about the house. There are things that in the neighborhood that are unusual, and people who say things that really don't entirely make sense, or that are confusing, about this family that had lived there previously. Stories don't line up. yeah, so there's just like all this strangeness, and interspersed between chapters there are these they're like documents and reports about things that sort of tie into the story, and it just leaves you really wondering what the heck is going on here. So, and it also, like, it's not super scary in the sense that, like, after the fact, it's not like I'm sitting around terrified. Like, some things will scare me, and, you know, you don't want to get out of bed at night to go to the bathroom without turning on the lights because you're afraid of what's going to pop out. It didn't leave me with that kind of fear, but there were so many parts in this book where I literally got the chills and just, like, freaked out by what was going on. So I would recommend it if you're someone who can live with uncertainty. It doesn't get wrapped up neatly in the end. It left me feeling like maybe I wanted to read it again just to see what I missed, because there were things that, you know, I maybe picked up on, but I know there's stuff I missed. So, for example, like, the address of the house keeps changing. Sorry about that. So the Bowie. The address of the house keeps changing. Things about the house keep changing. Names of people change. It's wild. So anyway, if my dog will stop barking, I would just say I would recommend it if you like that kind of thing. We used to live here. And there's another book by the same name that has I haven't read it, but it seems to have a similar storyline. So make sure you get the one that looks like this, if that's what you're into. And enjoy. Thanks. Bye-bye.